In an unprecedented attempt to reassure the public that they would put hard-working families first, Starmer claimed his Labour administration had prepared a fully costed plan to freeze energy rates this winter. Because of the rising cost of energy, which he called a difficulty for both homes and small enterprises, he emphasised the necessity of proceeding quickly.
Things start to come down. On Wednesday, the mass protests that were feared didn't materialise, but the reason why the Prime Minister is still wary and is guarding against complacency is for a number of reasons. And there's also potentially flashpoints in places like Stoke and Shrewsbury. But the second one, and this is the concern for ministers, and this is something that's been discussed behind the scenes in government for the last few days, is that it's the return of the football season this weekend. So we have the Charity Shield game ready to go, but the police, certainly the view of senior police leaders, is that if they can get through this weekend without any further flare-ups, then their hope is that they can start to unwind some of the resource that they've been deploying in the last 2 weeks.
The much perhaps delayed freeze never came into force, and energy bills could have been £150 a head more.
Immigration is a benefit. Now, immigration can be a benefit. I myself am talking to you from the United States, where I'm a migrant, I should say, a legal migrant. Legal migration can be very beneficial to a country. Justification for wanting to abandon their rather horrible lives in tyrannical third world countries and want to move into the West. But we simply can't accept them all. We cannot be a lifeboat for everyone in the world who wishes to come here because they've got a horrible government. If you were to accept people simply because they're...
Responses flooded social media pages within hours of its release, with the majority of them rather ruthless.
Or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves. This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. Fire set ablaze, residents and staff in absolute fear. There is no justification, none, for taking this action.
Alex Armstrong provided the positions of the political commentators, declaring that Starmer was naive in assuming that the ruling Conservatives were going to respond with violence. After that, Armstrong proceeded to pay close attention to the differences that existed between the chaos of 50 days of Labour's government and the chaos of 14 years of Tory rule.
The protection of every exotic minority you can think of against the majority. And the only way you can protect them is by aggressive policing, the sort of behaviour that we saw from Mark Rowley, Sir Mark Rowley, when he's asked a question about two-tier policing. What does this arrogant do? He strikes the head of the microphone out of the journalist's hand. The sheer contemptuous arrogance, for just the moment. It's not simply that it will be policed differently, but the entire language has been perverted. Have you heard constantly this word community?
Some declared his address was entirely removed from the harsh realities of the nation, while others said the goals that he stated were nothing more than pipe desires.
Answer the second part of your... As to finding my way around, I've got a basic understanding of the rooms I've used so far here. And that's good, but there are plenty of hidden places I'm yet to discover. And no, we're not unpacked quite yet, but we will be soon.
And then secondly, just on Beth's point about how you've won the biggest majority relative to the size of the vote in history.
And I include within that people who voted Labour for the first time on Thursday, because across the country in many places, people will have voted Labour for the first time, perhaps never having voted Labour before, and I recognise that, and that they've put their trust and confidence in us.
One of the greatest dividing initiatives became the cancellation of the Rwanda plan, according to which people seeking asylum were sent to Rwanda to sort out their asylum applications and to refuse illegal migration. This decision has had significant and immediate implications on the external boundaries of the United Kingdom. Despite being the case, many people saw it as a hint that immigration policy is going to get more adaptable.
No matter how many years you stay in Libya, you never feel safe, says Al-Tayyib from Sudan. They're waiting to be resettled to third countries like Canada and Finland.
After they exhausted themselves to cross the Sahara and the sea, and then to be sent back is devastating.
There's relief here as people wait to fly out. But this isn't where those deported from the UK will be staying. The residents, all adults, were evicted to make room for the UK deportees and given some money to rehouse themselves by the Rwandan government, who are still working with the UK to make the deal happen.
UK riots received harsh criticism, with many claiming he is disconnected from the fundamental problems that are causing the current crisis. Starmer's strategy has relied primarily on harsh law enforcement actions rather than targeting the core causes of the unrest.
But of course, whatever the challenge, we have to rise to it. And that's why I've had COBRA meetings. That's why I've been talking to the police today about their plans for the weekend. Yes, football is added into the mix. There are other things in the mix. But our focus has to be absolutely solely on the safety and security of our communities. And that's exactly where it is.
The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has said the online safety bill is not fit for purpose.
In relation to online and social media, the first thing I'd say is this is not a law-free zone. And I think that's clear from the prosecutions and sentencing. Today we're due...
They let on their platforms if he was more mindful of what he actually posts.
I think people should be mindful of the first priority, which is to ensure that our communities are safe and secure.
Specifically economic disparity and social injustice. A large number of Britons believe that the law is being implemented unequally, dismissing certain groups with less severity than others and sentencing others more severely. Critics claim that this sensation of unfairness is a greater sign of Starmer's government's incapacity to preserve equality and fairness, which has made it an important cause of dissatisfaction.
Why is it so bad?
Well, you want to be in charge, but you've got nothing to say to people about what you would do about it.
We're an island. Why can't we easily close our borders?
If Keir Starmer is your Prime Minister, all those illegal migrants will be out on our streets, and that is the choice for you.
So Keir said, hang on.
If it were working, why are record numbers still coming under your watch, Prime Minister? How on earth can you say it's working?
Labour want more return agreements, which Rishi Sunak took the mickey out of.
Iran,
you can see.
Syria, Afghanistan. So when Keir Starmer says he's going to return people, is he going to sit down? Are you going to sit down with the Iranian ayatollahs?
Musk's move around, especially in light of his huge social media following, has reinforced the idea that the UK is heading toward instability. Not only has the world community been frightened by the comparison of the circumstances to a hypothetical civil war, but Starmer's governance is under greater pressure than at any point to act immediately.
He hasn't directly incited violence. He didn't explode like we might see Donald Trump do, but he didn't call for calm either. And lots of people are saying that because he's so influential, that his actions are potentially quite dangerous.
Yeah, so the elites enact terrible policies and then blame anybody who notices. You can bet if Musk's views aligned with the BBC, there would have been no complaint at all.
In terms of characterisation of demonstrators as fringing on far-right extremism, Nielsen cites Farage to opine that only this approach instituted new positive trends of helping to shore up large segments of the population. The problem that Farage has with such portrayal stems from the fact that such a description generalizes the various and diverse fundamental concerns inherent in their demonstrations and obscures the legitimate apprehensions that many among them represent.
Working class British people that are protesting, and by the way, I'm not defending violence in any way at all. No, now he wants to take control of the narrative. You see, I think the reason Musk has been going for Starmer over the last week is he knows what the reaction is going to be. Undemocratic. So I am very worried that the instincts of a left-wing Labour Party are to use this crisis to take away our liberties and our free speech. And this is going to have to be fought.
There has been growing disappointment with the system of government, as well as cultural changes and economic inequalities have been credited for the nation's current unrest.
At the cenotaph. And so I've just held a meeting with senior police and law enforcement leaders where we've resolved to show who we are. A country that will not allow understandable fear, a breakdown in law and order on our streets. Because let's be very clear about this. It's not protest. It's not legitimate. We will establish a national capability across police forces to tackle violent disorder. These thugs are mobile. They move from community to community.
Supporters of these measures believe that in addition to assisting in keeping public safety threats off the sidewalks and returning discipline to the affected neighborhoods, initiatives can additionally act as an alternative towards crime.
We have no power to keep citizens, doesn't matter where they're from, here because they're not being...
So he may already have left Italy?
I was reading today on the Italian papers that they're probably all gone. From the resort. They were not under detention, they were not in jail, so they're probably gone.
He was grilled for over 2 hours in Italy before he left, but now, of course, it's the culpability issue. Was there a human blame? A manslaughter charge doesn't go against the water spout, it's against a human.
When we were called as coastal guards, we were not told 7 people are still in the water. We were told, look for survivors, so what they were searching was over the water, as opposed to going and trying to save the people. And yesterday what came out is that the way they found the people, that the boat is basically sinking on one side.
Examining immigration laws is also under increasing pressure since several individuals think they are a factor in the current insecurity. The concerns of the public regarding employment, housing and public services, the potential of the shutting of immigration in some ways, and a better examination of the immigration process.
And anti-Muslim demonstrators, which quickly descended into violence, arson and looting. Cars have been set on fire, and some unverified social media videos have shown ethnic minorities being attacked. False messaging on online platforms has also wrongly identified the suspected killer as a radical Islamist migrant, and warned of lengthy prison terms for those found guilty of violent disorder. The protests have spread quickly from Southport to several other areas of the UK, with marches held from London to Liverpool. The British government also says it's examining the role foreign states are playing in amplifying disinformation online, while warning social media firms they had to do more to stop it. A specialist on right-wing extremism told Reuters that far-right groups are less organised than they were a decade ago.
The path ahead is intricate and necessitates an unusual approach. On the one hand, more lawful enforcement is needed to ensure public safety. However, a concentrated effort is needed to heal the more fundamental social scars that the current disruption has brought out.